I'm Ethan, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Edge of NFT, along with Josh Krieger and Jeff Kelly. Our podcast brings you the top 1% of NFTs today and what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts and the business side, and also the human element of how NFTs are changing the way we interact with the things that we love. Our podcast is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers who are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next. We love getting to know emerging leaders in the space, and today Josh and I are doing a special inside look feature with Weiwu Zhang and Brent Annels of Smart Token Labs. I'll give you a little bit of background on each of them before we roll into this convo. Weiwu is co-founder and CTO. He has over 9 years in blockchain, from alt currency design to trading algorithms. He served as blockchain architect for CBA, Australia's largest bank, with the R3 Global Architect Office. He's also architected 3 altcoins and 7 ICO projects. Brent is CMO. Brent has over 20 years experience in marketing and partnerships with tech companies large and small, including Facebook and Uber. He has over 10 years experience with global ad agencies like DDB and Omnicom. Guys, really a privilege to have you here. Welcome to Edge of NFT.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Let's just start with some background information and get to know you guys. How did you come together, and how did things start rolling with Smart Token Labs?
Let me take this one. As you mentioned, I have worked in this industry for a long time. But the most relevant part is when I started to focus on applying blockchain to business scenarios, to how to make it work on the internet. That was when I was much of the experiment shows that to make Web3 work, we need to implement tokens, and token is the key. Since then, we have been focusing on token. Token Labs was founded by the end of 2017. At the time, we wanted to do an test implementation for tokens. We did a FIFA ticket, the 2018 Russian game. We did the online version, in the on-chain version of FIFA ticket that lives in your mobile wallet. It's Alpha Wallet in that year. And that's the first smart token we did. Since then, we have been focusing on making tokens smarter, and we believe that's the building block for the future Web3.
That's very cool, man. I mean, we're just trying to implement tickets here, and seeing people implement tickets for these conferences and, NFT, NYC and Decentral and things like this. We're seeing people walking around asking, why aren't we having NFT tickets for some of these large events? It is a huge issue to tackle, and it's really impressive that you guys went back and, did a case study in that so many years ago, and appreciate that you kind of had the foresight to think of that and put that together.
We actually have a few dozens of tickets floating for actual internet venue with QR code. So yeah, it's a case study, but we actually implemented it on a small scale.
That's very beautiful. Now, you guys have been up and running with Alpha Wallet for 4 years here. You've recently rebranded and relaunched as Smart Token Labs. Can you guys tell me a little bit more about sort of this evolution and transition here?
Yeah, sure. I'll pick that one up. So I guess the rebrand is, the business has been going, as we've said, for 4 years. There's 2 core products: Alpha Wallet, which is the open source mobile NFT wallet that's the most forked open source wallet on EVM, and Tokenscript, which is the second core product, which is how we make tokens smart. It's a smart token interface that allows you to bring limitless logic and portability and composability to tokens, allows you to interact with not only smart contracts, but also with other user agents and with Web2 services and sites. And so there's how you see the applications like, turning an NFT into a ticket. And then that FIFA example and some of the other real world ticketing examples we've done, it's, the ticket becomes an NFT. The ticket as token in your wallet becomes the entry into the event venue, it also becomes the permission when you visit the website where you're booking a hotel room for the event, and your rights in terms of which hotel room offers you get are driven by the NFT that you hold. So the rebrander, I guess, is to sort of like really put some structure around Smart Token Labs as the core brand that our business is making tokens smart, and we have those two core products that sit underneath.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of that makes a lot of sense. So, it sounds like at the core of this rebrand is a shift from an app-centric approach to something that's more token-centric. Where does that lead? What's the vision, and how does that sort of look in practice?
Yeah, so when we talk about token-centric, we talk about smart tokens. So traditionally, tokens are typically held for, in terms of NFT, it's held as a collection to be sold later. But we think the future Web3 will be connected by tokens. Now, the reason for that is token carries the user's rights and privacy information, and you can use that to guide websites to do the right thing for the users. So imagine if you go to shop token to get discount, to get a preferential treatment or product recommendation. And second is that token does this without centralized point, such as Facebook. Is a really important part because we think that the future web will be a decentralized web. Now, once this is implemented, we do envision the users hold a lot of tokens in their wallet. There are a few types like product tokens that refers to your represent the rights you have as a product owner, and there are payment tokens that serves the function of paying. So a lot of tokens in their wallet, and in the future, business will use that to connect to users, enhance the value of what this provide to the users, and the web will be connected with it.
I think you mentioned a word that doesn't get mentioned enough, and it's a relatively simple but important word, which is businesses. I feel like 2021 was the year of exploration and really testing the limits of what's possible with this amazing sort of converging set of technologies that now includes NFTs in the mainstream. But the business to business and the business to consumer applications have really just begun to surface, and it feels like that's very integral to where you want to go with your business.
Yeah. Sorry, I think we're talking over each other. I'll let you go, Weiwei.
Okay. So we have been in this space for 4 years. We know that business has always trying to use blockchain technology, but I think the market was not ready. So part of the reason being there have not been enough users who have a blockchain wallet, and NFT is what changed this. So we have a lot of users who didn't want to get rich by speculating a coin, but simply like something and want to own something, and then start to have the idea of they can own a token. So without NFT, I don't think there's a. Then again, if you look at the web, in the beginning, like Web 1.0, there's a phase of web mostly made of enthusiastic website owners. Then you have business on board, gets rich. Web 2 is followed similar path, and we think Web 3 will follow similar path too. I don't think that the web's role is just information provider. I think it's also marketplace, and I think what blockchain and the web is going to benefit us in the long term.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about this sort of like token shift, going from sort of an app-centric model to a token-centric model. We talked a little bit about onboarding users. What are some other things that are going to need to happen for the market to shift in this direction, so that we have a token-first model and it's sort of ubiquitous?
I think we have a perspective, I guess, that you know, a dApp-centric build model is a Web 2 build model, and a token-centric build model is Web 3. And I guess what we mean by that is you know, dApps are, you know, applications powered the mobile internet. They powered Web 2. They powered the right internet. But they're inherently dApp first. They're business applications. They're built for the application. They're kind of closed in a very real way. They're kind of centralized by default around the application being first. Tokens are inherently user first. They're user centric. You own and hold your tokens. They express who you are, what you own, what your rights are. They're your authorization, your identity. They express your permissions, your privileges. So they're inherently yours. And what we see as the sort of mainstream bridging into Web 2 is actually the tokenization into Web 3 is the tokenization of Web 2. So a core part of our technology, Tokenscript, is Token Negotiator, which enables Web 2 sites and services to recognize tokens. So we see the mainstreaming of Web 3 in many ways being powered by wallets and tokens. As Wei-Wu said, NFTs has led to an explosion of people holding wallets and tokens by default as NFTs. That's going to continue to grow, and you're going to start to see major Web 2 sites in travel and commerce starting to recognize tokens and create a user experience for people as they visit a website, like the ticketing one we talked about. You can visit the hotel website, and your token expresses when you're staying, what room offers you've got rights to, those sorts of things. The same thing through booking.com. That's where we sort of see the mainstream adoption of Web3 happening through the enablement of Web 2 at scale.
Yeah, I'm really excited about all that. I just think that you know, the implications of this technology is unlimited, and certainly in e-commerce, travel, those are any kind of access, you know, environments. Wei-Wu, are there any other implications of this paradigm shift that you're particularly excited about and you want to share?
We are seeing Web3 as most people, when we talk about what can be enabled, use case can be enabled by Web3. We are basing our imagination on what is available in Web2, new different models. So, for example, if your right to a book can be tokenized, then it's possible to have an online library where the users donate their book by renting their token to use their tokens. Or that consider car sharing market. It's possible to have your car ownership and then authorize a website to find customers for your car. These be clumsy and difficult to implement, but if you have tokens, it simplifies a lot. There are always also barrier to some markets because the central points of the internet didn't want to do this business. Now, for those business, once you have tokenization, the competition is open. So we are going to see new business as well.
That's really cool stuff. I mean, I'm actually a huge fan of the digital library. I found my local library has a huge resource. They've got film archives, they've got ebooks, they've got audiobooks, all this stuff, you know. And I know there's a certain model that they've come with, you know, through Web 2.0, where, you know, you can, you know, reserve a book for a certain amount of time, and a library pays for a certain amount of quote unquote copies, right? But I'm using quotation marks here, right? And it's really fascinating to hear the way you're thinking about things, because there's just an incredible shortcut available now, right? We can literally have not only books that are digital, that are rentable, that are automatically returnable. You don't even have to worry about whether or not it gets returned on time and things like that. Very exciting stuff, and look forward to it. Right, I think it's going to facilitate making services like a digital library all that much more affordable.
So just on that point, Ethan, and if you extend that one step further, and you imagine a library in the metaverse, and you imagine the dApp versus token analogy. if the library was a DApp, it's going to be hard for the library to seamlessly move through the metaverse. But if the library is tokenized, and you and I both have rights to visit the library and borrow books and return them, the token can seamlessly flow with us through the metaverse in our wallet, expressing, transacting, authorizing. We can share our books with someone else and get them to give it back to the library. So I think that, you know, the mobility, portability, composability of tokens is just this fundamental difference to how we think about what is going to be possible to be enabled as we move from, you know, to today's web to the web of the future.
And what are your thoughts, Brent, on sort of the disclosure of identity through tokens versus sort of keeping that information private? What are you guys thinking there?
User first. You know, user first all the way, user controlled. You know, if we think about it as Web3 as the ownership web, you know, it's like you determine what you express. You decide what you want to share. You know, it's like a flip. It's almost like a flip on cookies. You know, cookies used to be imposed on our browsers by companies and dApps, and, you know, to track us and tell us what we were going to get. Tokens flip that paradigm as well, and they enable users to take back control, and then they determine what they want to, who they want to interact with, what they want to share. You know, it's very much dApps are totally user centric. That's the vision we have.
Yeah, I think it's this combination of a more open source world, but a world that's as open as you choose to be with the different environments you interact.
100%.
The tokens will be smart tokens will be slightly different. Today, you can go through the Ethereum network and find out all tokens you have. Therefore, you have to disclose everything. In the token negotiation framework we have, the website does not inquire and look up the tokens. They will talk with tokens directly. So you can choose to use a token, and you can use fancy technology like zero knowledge proof to prove that you own a certain token without disclosing it as well. Room to control what you give to the website.
Yeah, I think that sounds very appealing. I mean, I think a lot of people going in and out of blockchain, excited about it, excited about sort of the anonymity side of it, getting into blockchain. Oh, I can have this currency that I can use that's outside of the traditional system. And they get excited about the decentralization. Then they realize, oh, well, actually, it's really hard to manage privacy in this case. But there is something to be said for, you know, the blockchain technology. And so, yeah, it's great to think to know that you guys are working on stuff like this. You know, we've been doing this podcast. We've been learning about the space as we go. It's really fascinating to see how your concept has sort of evolved in our episodes as we understand what are NFTs and what are their capabilities. You know, everything from a $69 million piece of art to, you know, rights to a community or special privileges or concerts, events, and stuff like that. As we evolve to see all of the features, you know, there's some vocab that sometimes I probably should know, but I'm not really insider on. Digital primitive. I know you guys speak of tokens as the new digital primitive. What do you mean by that?
I'll give the layman's overview of it, and I'm sure Wei will have a much more sophisticated answer. But I think one way to look at it is if you think about Web 1, 2, and 3 as read, write, own. That's one way I've heard it described. Then you can think about the primitives that line up against that as website, apps, token. So websites were the digital primitive for the read internet for 1.0. Apps were the digital primitive for Web 2.0. You know, the new digital primitive for Web 3, the ownership internet, is going to be tokens. That's my layman interpretation.
Oh, beautiful. That totally makes a lot of sense. And, you know, we know a ton of people who have been through all of these surges in new tech, right? And each one of them brings its sort of trend, just like we're seeing right now. And I can see it's the ownership economy. And like you said, it's a new digital primitive that we're just wrapping our heads around. You know, what are all the capacities?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's when we talk about the paradigm shift. You know, I think the big shift that's occurring now in terms of like tokens as the building blocks of Web 3, like we all believe that dApps were the next digital primitive, right? It just sort of made sense because they were decentralized apps and it was the decentralized web. But they're not, in fact. They're actually a Web 2 paradigm. It's business first. It's application centric, whereas tokens are the logical next step because they open it up. They're user first. They give you the right to express your privileges and your rights as you see fit.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Let's sort of take this a little bit further, Wei-Wu. I mean, in this sort of new world, this new digital primitive, you guys are focused on NFTs, on gaming and metaverses. Can you break down how smart tokens apply to these different verticals?
We're going one level more technical on this. So first, when we take a token-centric approach, we're not changing the fundamental that the tokens are defined by smart contract, because that's the level of trust provided. A lot of details when you put token to work. Token effectively is the integration point for websites to do token-related things. In the case of game, if you have a sword, you want to wield it in the game, and smart contracts is going to define the properties of the sword, ownership, or whether or not it's collateralized to produce magic or the aurora when you swing the sword. Similarly, in the metaverse, if you want to put an NFT like a frame it, then a smart contract can help you to determine who has the right to do so and who can see that. But ultimately, it's a lot of application code at work. So Tokenscript, our technology, extend a little bit to real life. If you rent your car to a website which rents your car to other customers, like a marketplace, share economy, then being able to pass the authorization of driving the car to another app when somebody shows up as a member, how do they do that? Without token, you will have to involve Google and owned by Google effectively so that they can redistribute the right to the person who have rented for 3 days. Well, in token world, smart contract determines who is the owner and then what kind of for the car to be driven. And the car will be equipped with their side of Tokenscript so that they will see a valid authorization and they will allow the person to drive it. So this is a primitive. It has to integrate service because Web3 is heavily service oriented and provide rich functionalities that smart contract does not provide for the sites, for the games, for the metaverse to use the full function of that smart token.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and speaking of these different kind of verticals that we might work within, can you just sort of put those in the context of some of the things that we've talked about? I know you guys work with FIFA. Maybe you've done some current work with ENS. How do those play a role in these kind of different verticals?
So I guess our go-to-market is NFTs. We're going to bring rich utility and function to NFTs. Gaming, we're looking at interoperability of gaming assets, and then ultimately metaverse, we're looking at enabling people as they move between digital worlds. In those specific examples in the NFT space, we've done a series of ticketing things. FIFA World Cup way back in 2018, where the ticket is an NFT. It gets you in the gate and it gives you permissions to the hotels. We're doing that with DevCon in Bogota at hopefully the end of next year. I think Wei-Wu can probably talk to the ENS example better than I can.
Yeah. So as Brent said, our strategy is because that's when the public is awakened by blockchain technology in a way. So lots of partnership negotiations happening, and then we have our own NFT. It's called an Alchemy Nft. That's where you can have an NFT token and you can create derivatives You can create a lot of smaller shareholds, and you can create one token that depends on the other, therefore adding the value to the other. This magic is needed for NFT holders to increase the value of the NFT, but similar use case, you can see that everywhere. So in terms of car, you might create authorization for using it for three months. Similar technology is working for all kinds of smart tokens. So NFT can be used, but in the meanwhile, we are extending it in a way that the fundamental technology is useful for all use cases. I'm speaking a little bit more from a technical perspective.
Yeah, I think I just again round that out just slightly. I'm just conscious that Weiwei's microphone's a bit jumpy. So in that NFT space, the Weiwei and the team have built out over the last 3 years. I mean, we've done 30 plus smart token projects. A lot of those over the last 3 years have been in the sort of enterprise space, like tokenization of cars with Karma Automotive, etc. So a lot of those examples Weiwei was talking about, we've actually done. Where we've pivoted to, well, moved to for the next phase is we really want to, within the NFT space, within NFT communities, we want to bring that utility and function to their projects. There's a suite of products, like sub-products, if you like Autograph NFT, where you can sign an NFT. Vitalik has signed an NFT for us as part of that process. You can go to a creator that you love and ask them to sign your NFT for you. There's remixing. There's derivatives, so you can do fractionalized ownership. So we've got all of those things sit within the Tokenscript bundle of product, a core product, and applications that can be built. And we're helping NFTs and NFT communities and creators sort of go to market with that.
That's really exciting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have really painted an exciting picture of what's possible with your technology, and I think there's going to be a lot of folks lining up to get this type of help. You know, the Web3 is really exciting, but it also can be quite overwhelming. We've covered a lot of the different elements of what you're doing. Is there anything sort of in terms of the Alpha Wallet project that you wanted to mention that fits into this vision, and sort of more so what specifically is going to happen in 2022 that we should get pumped about?
Yeah, sure. I'll headline that for us. So firstly on Alpha Wallet. So Alpha Wallet is like a core part of our vision of the future. So a token first Web3 requires super user agents. So Alpha Wallet has been running for 4 years. It's the most forked open source wallet on EVM, the first to have secure enclave in 2019. I think we're at 470 forks at the moment. So really popular amongst the Ethereum community. It's a mobile first NFT smart token wallet. We see, if you think about that future that we've articulated about people seamlessly moving through Web3 with their tokens, what goes hand in hand with that is the wallet. So we have built, and I guess to round that out in terms of what the vision for 2022, both of our products are fully open source. So we're by developers for developers. So our roadmap is to hand those products over to the developer community through token sales. So in 2022, starting with Tokenscript in March, we'll be doing a token sale and distribution for Tokenscript. We'll be handing that over to the developer community for them to move this forward. We see and aspire to Tokenscript as a new standard for building blocks in Web3 based on a tokenized future. And then we'll follow that up towards the end of the year with the token sale for Alpha Wallet. Again, it is the premier open source wallet for developers, certainly in the smart token mobile space. And that's our vision for 2022. We've done a lot of work over 4 years. We now want to collaborate, build with, but move ownership and governance of these products over to the community that ultimately will decide, how far they go.
That's exciting. There's so many more developers coming into the space and sort of converting their technical chops from other types of technologies to include blockchain in their repertoire. And and they need friends, they need partners that have tools that make their lives easier. And just super excited about what you guys are doing, and really appreciative of your taking some time today to unpack what your Web3 future looks like and how it could help so many folks with their different adventures to make commerce more fluid, to make metaverses more exciting, to make games more fun to play. So excited about what everything you guys have going on.
Thanks so much, Josh. It's been awesome to be on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, just so folks can keep tabs on what's going on in your world. Where do they go? How do they become part of your community?
Sure. Well, yeah, we'd love people as part of our community, and always looking to build on that. So smarttokenlabs.com is the URL for just a simple overview of, you know, the core products. You can register there for the token sales, etc. We obviously have our Discord community. So there's Alpha Wallet Discord and Tokenscript Discord, and of course on crypto Twitter, you can follow us at Alpha Wallet and at Tokenscript.
Awesome. Very excited about all this. And I guess we'll call it a wrap here. Just to give our little outro, we've reached the outer limit at the Edge of NFTs for today. Thanks all the listeners and viewers for exploring with us. We've got space for more adventures on the Starship. Invite your friends, recruit some cool strangers that will make this journey also much better. Find out more about us at edgeofnft.com. And to everybody from Smart Token Labs, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's a